So what do you do if your cam is wiggly when you put it on the axle? Hello, this is Mr. Huff, and let's take a look at this. So if you follow my instructions previously, you should have a good fit between your axle and your cam. But if you put it on, take it on, put it on and take it off several times, it may get loose. In this case, this hexagonal cam and this pair cam were very unstable. So what we are going to do, if that's the case, we need to add some supports, and this is how we will do it. We are going to use cardboard and the bit we use to make the hole for the axles in the cam, and you're going to produce two supports out of cardboard for each wobbly cam. So we're going to basically cut little squares of cardboard and drill a hole through them and then push a pen or pencil through them, and then they'll fit snugly on the axle. What you'll do after that is sandwich the cam between, and I've apologized for the terrible picture, but we'll sandwich the cam between the two pieces of cardboard, and when you glue all of that together, it will have good contact with the axle, and the sandwich pieces will hold the cam perpendicular, and life will be good. Also, make sure you trim any cardboard that overlaps the edge of your cam. So if this cardboard went past this edge, you would want to trim that to make sure it's flat. Next thing, let's talk about drilling holes into the automata for your followers. You'll need to carefully mark the placement. You should be following probably the center of the top of your box. So I would suggest just make a line across there and then mark where you're going to drill holes for the shafts and shaft supports to go. So in this case, I had some indecision, so you see a bunch of little marks. The ones with the little dots at the top are the ones I'm going to actually drill. So we're going to use a drill bit that's a little bit larger than the straw we will use for the dowels and a little bit larger than the square shafts. And that way we can make sure that everything passes through okay. And these are examples of the holes that we drill for this. Notice I have two sizes, one for the straws and one for the square shaft. Once you have your holes drilled, place your axle across the top. Notice how I've got this little stop here to show where it's going to be. And I line the shaft up across that center line, and then I draw a line all the way around the shaft using a marker so that I can make sure to get my cams perfectly aligned with these holes when the axle is placed into the automata. Let's talk about placing the cams. You put them on first, then you glue them. So what you will do is take all of the support pieces and the cams and slide them onto your axle inside the automata. All your gluing has to occur inside. You can't glue it outside and then install it because the axle has to fit through the holes on each side. So this is a little tedious. I've brought small hot glue guns to accomplish this. When you glue, you work from one side to the other. You place hot glue on your marked line on the axle, and then you slide your cam over the glue so the cam is sitting in glue as it sits on the cam. Then to glue your cardboard pieces, I suggest to start at the axle itself and put a little line out on the side of the cam and then squeeze the cardboard to it on both sides. Make sure it's perpendicular as you hold pressure, waiting for the glue to cool. We will be using low temp hot glue, so you shouldn't get burned. It may be uncomfortable, but it won't hurt you. Let's talk about putting your follower supports in. So if you are using the dowels, you just need a little piece of a straw. It needs to pass through the top, probably not go down very far inside your automata. You want to leave room for the cam. And it needs to stick up probably like an inch, inch and a half or so. Then make sure when you're gluing these that you're holding everything perpendicular and that you do not get any glue inside the straw. If you do, it's going to act as a friction point and will keep your follower from functioning properly. Again, make sure everything is perpendicular. For the squares, you're going to cut a little piece of cardstock and you'll be able to trace the width of your cam several times. I used like four and a little bit, so one for each side and a little bit of overlap for taping. So you would trace that out, mark a line right here to distinguish where you're going to cut the little tabs for the bottom. Once you cut the little tabs here, you can fold it up and then you wrap it around your cam and tape it. What I did is I would place a small piece of tape first to hold everything in place, and then I would wrap it with a wide piece of tape to make sure it was firmly attached. To place the follower and the guide tube here, or this little square tube, and this support for the shaft here, I folded the little tabs up and I placed it over the hole to make sure the follower would pass through the hole without any friction. And then I put a little drop of glue underneath each one and pressed them down. I did have some trouble though. One of the first cams I made, or cam followers I made, was the support was a little bit too wide, so it would go left and right as well as up and down, and it also was unstable back and forth. So I added this little cap on here to hold it straight up and down, and I added this little support here that's glued on the side and glued to the top of the cam to keep it from going forwards and backwards. So you may have to add some pieces to stabilize your follower supports. And that's enough for this video.